Welcome to the Funny Books and Firewater podcast. Each week these idiots pair cocktails with comic books. You can find the cocktails, drinking game rules, and playlists on the blog at funnybooksandfirewater.com. While at funnybooksandfirewater.com, you can also find a drinking game rule to play while you listen to each episode. You can follow us at FirewaterCast on Twitter, and Funny Books and Firewater on Facebook and Instagram. This is episode 165, Moonstruck, part of Pride 3, Kissing in a Tree.
I mean, it is Pride Month. We have to have a conversation about Cher, don't we?
Actually, I do have one I can give. So there's that new Cher musical on Broadway.
You have a friend in that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, who are they playing?
They're in chorus as far as I'm aware.
Okay. Well, the interesting thing is of course, Eddie downloaded the soundtrack right away. And what's fun is, like, I can't remember if it's middle-aged or older Cher, but she was the same Elphaba that we saw in LA back like in 2008, I want to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was the huh?
Is it Teal?
Yeah, Teal Wicks.
Yeah, I know Teal as well. I worked with her.
We talked about this, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so I apparently I know two people in that show. No, Teal is not the one I was thinking of who's on the show. My friend Tiana, who I worked with out here in California, she left the show that I'm on right now to go do the Cher show.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's kind of funny because Teal Wicks was the understudy when Cassie Levy was the Elphaba. And then she came on stage instead of her because whatever reason. And then like a month later, she left to go become Elphaba on Broadway. So
yeah. Well, because I had worked with her in that interim where she'd come back from tour, and then she was doing we were doing 1776. I'd worked with her before doing Pippin, and we were doing 1776 together. And then I left 1776, and then she left 1776 to go do Elphaba on Broadway.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it was like there was this weird time frame where we were both working on the same show, but like neither of us finished that show, which is interesting. But yeah. She just couldn't go on without me, and so had to run away to New York to become Elphaba. It was
there you go.
Yeah.
Just couldn't handle it.
If only that were true, because Teal's gorgeous, but that's a totally different issue. And very fun. She's like this kind of crazy hippie chick. You would not expect her to be as hippie as she is, but she's...
Well, I mean, just from what you've said and also interviews with her, she seems like just the nicest, coolest person.
She is super cool. She's really nice and very cool. So there was a scene when we were doing Pippin where her and this guy named Joshua Park, who's playing Pippin, would be underneath the sheets, and they would basically just be kicking it up, the sheets up and down while there's like this interpretive dance of sex in front of them. Which is
this is the story you told me, yeah.
I don't know if I told it on air, but I told you. But I would listen to them on their microphones every once in a while, and they would they'd have they're supposed to be quote unquote having sex, and you would hear you'd hear them like having farting contests or talk about where they're going to go for lunch or I mean whatever. It was the weirdest conversations ever. It was like my favorite part of the show was listening on their microphones when they were like underneath the blankets on the middle of the stage, just chatting away. It was very entertaining. Anyway, there you go. There's a useless Broadway fact for the day. I think there's a drinking game rule in there somewhere, William. I think you're supposed to drink every time I talk about theater. So there you go. Enjoy. Cool. Hey, and welcome to episode 165 of the Funny Books and Firewater podcast. This week we're continuing our Pride Month with Moonstruck by Grace Ellis. And is that an H? SHAE Beagle? Beagle? SHAE Beagle.
SHAE Beagle, yeah.
Yeah, SHAE Beagle. Okay. Grace Ellis of Lumberjanes fame, which is where I know her work beforehand. SHAE Beagle I'm not completely familiar with, but I believe she's a relative newcomer. Anyway, we have nearly a full group with us today. We will start with Mr. Pride himself, Adam.
Hey!
Hi, Adam.
Hey, everyone. Yeah, actually, as we record this, it's 4 days after Salt Lake Pride. And as the other panelists know, they saw the picture of what I was wearing at Pride. It went extremely well. I mean, we both kind of nervous about it, but then we said, fuck it, let's do it. And then it was felt really comfortable. I mean, I had more lesbians catcall me than anyone else.
Nice.
But no, it was a blast. Tons of people wanted to take pictures with us. For the most part, everyone was pretty respectful about not touching when you're not. It's cosplay, guys. Don't touch unless you're given permission, kind of thing. But no, it was a lot of fun. We didn't get that sunburned, which I thought we were going to.
That was my bigger concern, to be honest with you. I was worried about you getting sunburned.
Yeah, well, as Clark has said, these thighs have never seen the light of day. So, no, we just put on sunscreen and then got home, felt a little bit hot. And that was about it. And But yeah, it was a big self-confidence boost. It was a lot of fun, and it was just a really good experience. So now we're trying to see what we can do next year. So I'm saying jock straps, but Clark doesn't seem down with that. So,
well, wearing a jock strap to next year's Pride, we have Mr. Jason.
How do you know my costume already?
I can just tell.
So hi, I'm an unemployed writer in Los Angeles, and here is your weekly WGA update. Nothing that big out of Hollywood this week. The WGA and ATA are still scheduled to resume their negotiations for a new franchise agreement tomorrow. In the meantime, the CAA issued their response to one of the lawsuits against them by writers and former clients, and the WGA received a letter of support from 6 California state legislators. Other than that, it's been all quiet on the Western Front.
Okay.
Back to you, Brian.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason. And now for sports, we go to Todd. Hey, Todd.
Hey, so the Raptors haven't won it all yet, but they will. So I'm Todd. I'm here in Salt Lake, and you can find me on this podcast. That's about what we're up to at this time. Isn't that right, Brian?
Yeah. I'm sorry.
There we are. It's not just you.
Yeah, we're all flaky. We're all flaky. We all sink that ship together.
A little bit.
A little bit.
My little spawn turned half a year yesterday, which is still weirding me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So that's what's new in my
Happy
world.
birthday,
and then
Aria.
I heard Watchtower Cafe is getting ready to
half birthday.
find new digs.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, actually, it was really cool. They it was something to do with the landlord and the condition of the building, but basically they needed, I think, $30,000 to do this move, and they for the first 3 weeks of the campaign maybe had $1,000. And then Geek Show kind of started promoting them in the last couple of weeks, and they went from $1,000 to $31,000 in a week and a half.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah.
Awesome. And then, of course, last but certainly not least, and always first in our hearts, we have Lena. Hi, Lena.
Hi. I'm an event manager out of the Connecticut, New York area. Hopefully more New York than Connecticut very soon. And that's pretty much it right now, guys. I got nothing else going on other than this. So, woo.
I keep seeing updates for the New York Comic-Con, and I'm starting to get really tempted because I'm I have a place I could crash out there now.
You do have a place that you could crash. And it won't be in the city, but it'll be very, very close to the city.
I'm fine with that. That doesn't bother me in the least. I might give it more thought. Also, I keep getting updates for LA Comic-Con, Jason, if we want to go back to that. That one wasn't nearly as fun. WonderCon so far has been one of my favorites. Besides Fan X, I really like WonderCon.
Yeah, I like that too.
Not to say anything bad about LA Comic Con. As to quote the sometimes reviled, sometimes loved Big Bang Theory, let's see, what is it? Comic Cons are like pizza. Even the stinky ones are still pretty good. Anyway. Let's see. And hi, I'm Brian. I'm a sound designer based in Southern California. By the time you hear this, I'm currently in Utah, probably slaving away, trying to get shows up and running because I'm feeling way behind on all of those. Hopefully I'm caught up by this point in time. And I will be entering in my 3rd semester of grad school at the University of Denver. Hooray for me.
Yay.
Yeah, and haven't flunked out yet. Hooray! With, full-time job and a podcast and an attempt at a social life, I still haven't flunked out. So I'm pretty darn proud of that. Moonstruck is a book about magical creatures who work at a coffee shop and have relatively everyday lives until strange things become afoot. Todd, what would you call the myification for this book?
The myification for this book is it's like Central Perk for weirdos. Not weirdos. Central Perk for the others, maybe.
Well, the back of the book says fantasy, humor, romance.
Yeah. Okay.
But also your explanation ties into almost everything that I did. I took a Todd route this week and I did themes on everything. I don't know if anybody caught that or not, but Todd loves to theme his drinking games with his rules, with his cocktail, and I did the same. But before we get into that, let's get into votes as to whether or not we believe it is worth you, our dear listeners, hard-earned time, money, and effort to hunt this book down and give it a read. What is your vote, Lena?
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Todd. Okay, Mr. Jason.
I'm a meh as well.
I'm a meh as well, Mr. Adam.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there is a caveat to that, and I'll talk about it later, because I think we're the wrong target audience for this book.
We are the wrong target audience for this book.
We're a bunch of cynical bastards, and this is for, teenagers.
I think it's even for younger than teenagers, to be quite honest with you. But, yeah. And that being said, I didn't hate this book, but I had a little more hope going into this based on who the author is. I'm a really big fan of Lumberjanes. I would say if you're over 18, just go read Lumberjanes instead. Or if you're under 18, go read Lumberjanes regardless. It's actually really good for all ages, but it's a better read than this book is, unfortunately. Cool. Well, then it sounds like we're all going to need a drink today. So let's have a drinking games. I will start with mine. Mine is called Caffeine. Every time they mention coffee, take a drink. Mr. Jason, what is your drinking game rule?
Mine is called May the Puns Be With You. Whenever someone says a pun or one is, for example, written on someone's shirt, take a drink.
Which obviously had to be your favorite part of this book.
Yes.
Yeah, I assumed so. Lena.
Signs, everywhere signs. And I can't remember what her name is.
Cass.
Cass, thank you. Has a vision, drink.
Okay, Mr. Adam.
Mine is called You Racist Bastard. Every time someone says something offensive about werewolves.
We're werewolves, not swearwolves. Mr. Todd.
It's all about that booty. Every time the guy brings up that he's missing his butt, take a drink.
Spoiler alert. Sort of, not really. Cool. So then, of course, we have drinking game rules. We have some votes. And we need songs to put on in the background as you read this book. Lena, what is your song?
Can't Rock My Dream Face by Humphreys McGee.
So I read that when you sent that in, and I thought, I have no idea who that is. You could be just making shit up right now, and I would have to believe you.
No, so Humphreys McGee is if you like jam rock bands, you'll like them. If you don't like jam rock bands, you'll still like them. They're very good. But they came out with an album a couple years ago called Zonky, which is they did like mashups of songs. And this one is Don't Stop, what was it? Rock Your Body, Can't Feel My Face, and Dreams, all rolled into one song. It's amazing.
I'm looking this up to see if it really exists or if you're making shit up.
It does exist.
I'm just making sure. Let's see. Zonky?
Zonky, yeah.
Okay, well, according to Spotify, it's a real thing, so we'll let you off the hook this time.
Oh my gosh.
Speaking of hipster tunes I've never heard of, Mr. Jason, what's your song for the playlist?
That's one you've definitely heard of. It's Do You Believe in Magic by the Lovin' Spoonful.
Oh, okay. Which I love is one of the dirtiest band names ever. And no one knows what it means. But yeah.
What does it mean, Brian?
A Lovin' Spoonful is sort of the assumption of the output of a male ejaculate, basically. Is about how
there
much.
You go. I was waiting to see how you were going to make that super PC there, Brian.
We don't necessarily worry about being super PC on here. I just started down that path, and I was like, okay, well, let's see if I can do this.
It's the Mormon in you.
It is the Mormon in me.
Well, but yeah, we're so ladylike and Christian-like on this podcast too. So.
Speak for yourself, Adam.
That's Mr. Cum Dumpster.
Yes. Speaking of cum dumpsters and the Lovin' Spoonful, Mr. Adam, what is your song for the playlist?
How did you know what I was doing before this podcast? No, it's Bad Moon Rising by Creedence Clearwater Revival.
So there's a thing about that song. I always thought that the person who wrote that song, when I misheard the lyrics when I was a kid, and I always thought the lyrics were, there is a bathroom on the right. And I thought it was someone who was working somewhere writing a song and kept getting asked where the bathroom was, and that's what they just kept saying, so it ended up in the song. Because I literally did not realize the lyric was, there's a bad moon on the rise. Anyway, I thought that was funnier than anybody else on this podcast did, but okay.
You're
and Mr. Todd is grayed out on my
Brian.
screen right now. I know, thanks. Let's see, Mr. Todd's grayed out. Oh, okay, now I can hear you again.
Yeah, it's Bark at the Moon by Ozzy Osbourne.
Nice.
A little on the nose, but
a little on the
it's
nose.
there.
And of course, speaking of all the coffee shops and whatnot, and Central Perk in general, mine is I'll Be There For You by the Rembrandts, also known as the theme song to Friends. So there you go. Then, of course, we do, as we do every week, we go into cocktails. Let's start out with Mr. Todd. What's your cocktail for this week?
Mine is a Kahlua soda, coffee soda. So it's 1 shot of espresso, 1.5 ounces of Kahlua, 2 dashes of bitters, splash of soda water, and a 1/4 cup of half and half cream and a cup of ice. So you want to put the espresso over ice, pour the Kahlua, add bitters and a splash of soda on top, and then just top that off with cream and enjoy.
Okay. Actually sounds really pretty good. Mine is also a coffee drink. Mine is an Irish coffee. It's 1 tablespoon of sugar, 1.5 ounces of whiskey, 6 ounces of hot coffee, 1 teaspoon of white sugar or more to taste, and 1/4 cup of whipped cream. Basically, you rim the glass with the sugar, and then you pour in the Irish coffee, and then you top off with sugar and stir with, and then top off with whipped cream if you would so desire. Mr. Adam, what is your cocktail for this week?
So mine is the Mayan Mocha, and actually there is a typo. It was autocorrect. You don't add an ounce of khakis, you add an ounce of Kahlua.
Ooh, an ounce of khakis.
Khakis. So it's 1 ounce of vodka, 1 ounce of Kahlua, 1 ounce of chocolate liqueur. You put that in a mixing cup, you stir it together, probably like a foam cup or coffee mug. And then you add a dash of cayenne. If you want a little bit more to make it spicier, up to you. And then you fill it with 6 ounces of hot coffee and you stir.
Ms. Elena, what is your cocktail for this week?
Talking Monkey. It's 1 ounce of chocolate vodka, a dash of, and it literally is a dash, of espresso vodka, 1 ounce of banana liqueur, a dash of coffee liqueur, and 1 ounce of cream. In a cocktail shaker filled with crushed ice, pour the vodkas, banana, coffee liqueurs, and cream. Let stand for 5 minutes. 5 seconds. Then you shake vigorously, strain into a chilled cocktail glass, and enjoy.
You're new, so I'll let you get away with it, but here we say shake the shit out of it. That's the proper term.
Pardon me.
And Mr. Jason, what's your cocktail for this week?
So I am reusing one that I used in a previous episode from, I think, Joyride.
Okay.
But instead of the single serving version.
That shouldn't be allowed. I'm just saying.
That's fine. You're new here, so it's fine. I'm going to do the 8 servings version. So it's called Dark Moon. You take 1.5 cups of cold brew coffee, half a cup of coffee liqueur, half a cup spiced rum, 1 12-ounce bottle of dark Cola, Coca-Cola, or the Mexican Coca-Cola used with real cane sugar, and half a cup of heavy cream. So ahead of time, you want to combine the cold brew, coffee liqueur, and rum in a large pitcher. Stir gently, then cover and refrigerate for about 4 hours. And then when you're ready to drink, you add the cola to the pitcher and stir again. Divide the drink evenly among rocks glasses filled with ice. Add cream evenly to each glass or however much you like. And then stir your ingredients all around for some very pretty swirls, and then drink to enjoy.
Well, that is a very complicated beverage.
Jason, yes. Have you drank this? Have you had this?
No.
Oh. It sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sounds very complicated as well, but yes, it does sound very tasty. Okay, cool. It sounds like one of those great drinks to have somebody else make for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is why it comes in 8 servings.
Oh, okay. So, does anybody else have any final warnings before we go into this break?
Again, just that, this is meant for younger people. So if you're over the age of 20, it probably won't resonate with you as much as it would with someone who watches Steven Universe, which is what the art in this book reminds me of.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
And really, there's nothing offensive in this book, so there's no warning.
Are you kidding? It's got them gays in it.
Well, aside from that, but this is Pride Month, so, you're going to have to get used to that one. That'll pretty much do that. So, ironically enough, because it is Pride Month, you're now going to hear an ad from our sister podcast, our Sister Fucker podcast. What do we call it, Cinema Queens?
Sister Fuckers.
Sister Fuckers.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, so our Sister Fucker podcast, Cinema Queens, you'll hear an ad from them, and then we'll be back to spoil the living shit out of it. So we'll see you in a minute.
See you in a minute. Brian, you always say see you on the flip side. What's wrong with you?
I apologize.
While we take a break, here is a message from one of our fellow Hello Sweetie Network podcasts.
Now, sissy that wow.
Hey there! Are you queer or some variation of it? Well, I'm Chris, and this is my co-host,
Adam. And welcome to Cinema Queens, where we talk about queer cinema.
Each week, we watch beloved queer classics, discuss them, review them,
and cover a whole cluster of topics from our favorite scenes,
what they mean to us,
how it relates to our current world,
and the best part, the cherry on top of the sundae, happens to be
gay rants!
So prepare your ear holes!
And listen to us Queens talk cinema. New episodes drop every Monday on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher. Bye-bye!
There's not a whole lot of plot to cover on this, really.
No,
Basically,
I did write down a summary if you want to do one, or if we want to just sort of just start talking about it.
I feel like just jumping on the conversation is fine. The only thing I will say is the basic plot of this is it's a bunch of friends in a coffee shop. The female lead, I don't remember any of their names. To be honest with you. Julie is she's in the beginning of a budding romance with
Selena.
Who you don't meet Selena really till the second book. Her best friend at the coffee shop is a centaur. Chet. Yeah. He tags along on one of their dates. They go see a magician.
He goes by they, them.
They. Yeah.
They, them. Okay.
Yeah,
sorry. I apologize.
Because they're genderqueer, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
Non-binary or something.
I apologize. Sorry.
Shame on you.
I apologize. So
that's not enough.
It is a fictional character. I hope that they forgive me.
There you go.
They.
I feel them, Brian.
It reminds me of that. It's on. What is it? Oh, it's at the end of Mallrats, where every time one of the characters says something, Brody just like says, "Oh, did you hear that? This guy's a whatever." Like, basically just takes anything he says and twists it on its ear and makes it like horrible. I was having that moment for a second, being like, I cannot fucking win. So anyway. They tag along on a date. They go to see a magician. The magician ends up taking their legs, their centaur legs. They go looking for the centaur legs. Eventually, they hunt down and find the magician again, and happiness is restored back to the realm. And the Deus Machina at the end of it, I didn't quite understand what was going on there, other than her turning into a werewolf. Selena turns into a werewolf, and she attacks the wolf in some way. I
and then it's like Scooby-Doo, and you find out that it was all mean old Mr. O'Reilly at the end or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, something bizarre.
It was wrapped up in one single page, which was weird.
And didn't make any sense to me either.
No, it doesn't make any sense at all.
And the joint, or the dual storylines with the sister babysitting club or whatever, did not connect, because it was trying to say that, because in the dual sister babysitter storyline thing, it said that one of the girls hid the dog herself so that she could be the hero in the end, but that's not at all what happened in the actual storyline with Julie and Chet and Selena.
Yeah.
So it didn't make sense. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm not the only one who was like, what the fuck is going on here at the end of this?
No.
Okay.
Well, it could be we would know more about the story within the story, but Selena ripped the book in half. So as you can see on that one page where it's like showing what's happening in real life and then showing what's happening in the book, the pieces are missing. It's like a half of the page is gone. So I'm just making stuff up, but now it's probably not bad. So I'm trying to give credit for something it doesn't deserve. So.
It's a good attempt.
Yeah,
pay for effort.
Yes.
It's just, here's the thing. I liked the art in it. I thought the art was fun. And there's a cool Medusa character. There's a couple vampires in there. It has some fun mythical creatures sort of hanging out at a coffee shop. But I felt like the fact that they were mythical didn't really have much to do with anything. I did like when Chet lost their legs, that they were upset about them being a monster. Is that right? Them?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. I'm trying to figure out the pronoun game there.
They're being a monster.
Okay.
Because being
that they are now a monster, and so which I thought was funny. I liked that little section of it, and it had sort of a nice little sweet message about being true to yourself and embracing your weirdness and your personal magic. And I kind of get that stuff.
I have a good modification for this.
Okay,
yeah,
queer fables for tweens.
Okay,
nice.
Yeah.
That might be giving it more credit than it deserves.
There you go.
Well, no, the whole time I was reading this, I really felt like I was reading a kid's version of Fables. That popped in my mind every other page. So
okay, I can kind of see that, where there's this sort of mythical creature kind of aspect to it. But yeah, I don't know. What are other people's thoughts on this?
So I liked it for the first 3.5 issues, and it was really sweet. It was cute, fun, lighthearted. But then when Selena just gets angry and impatient with Julie, it just felt like it came out of left field and kind of ruined the characters that it had built, because I didn't feel like it needed that sort of interpersonal conflict between them, because you already had this just very basic generic story where a magician steals Chet's centaur legs, and to introduce Julie and Selena's conflict just felt like a hat on a hat, because you already had Julie also being insecure and not feeling brave enough or feeling ashamed for being a werewolf. And it felt like too much to have Selena get mad at her and then to resolve it at the very end.
It also felt like it was a little out of the blue, and it was like they were just first dating. They should still be in sort of like the romance period. I don't know. And it just... Yeah, sorry, Lana, go ahead.
The issue that I had with this was Julie being really self-conscious about being a werewolf, but you're right. There's like a Medusa character who's got snakes as hair, and a bat vampire. Like everyone has something, so it just seems so strange that she feels self-conscious about also being a mythical creature. So it was just weird. And I was like, I feel like I'm missing something when I was reading it. I was like, I feel like I'm not getting what she's trying to get at with the self-conscious piece of it.
Yeah.
I can speak to that, actually.
Okay.
I thought it was, first of all, she's this werewolf. Second of all, she's a lesbian. And the whole feeling self-conscious and unsure of yourself, especially when you first come out, is a huge deal. And also, with her being a werewolf, she's constantly trying to hide it. She doesn't want to let other people see what she is. And again, if you're in the closet or you're around people you're not comfortable with, being LGBTQ plus everything else, that is a big deal. Because dude, I was raised really religious, and back when people were advocating against same-sex marriage in the 90s in California, like I voted for that bill, even back then, knowing I was gay. And knowing that one day I'd probably want a husband, but I was so afraid that someone would find out that, oh, he voted this way, or, hey, he might be gay, that I was exerting internalized homophobia. So for me, actually, I did like that part because that's what spoke to me. But again, that's from just my own personal experiences. So
okay.
No, it's nice to hear, because when I was reading it, I'm like, I feel like I'm missing something, and I am a cis white, straight girl. So it for me, like I do have insecurities, but I could not figure out where her being upset about other things made sense to me. Like her feeling insecure about stuff made sense, but just the fact that she was so worried about where just that one piece, I just could not. I was like, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm definitely not the target audience for this book.
Anybody else have any other thoughts?
I don't think Todd's giving his thoughts because he was being quiet.
That's true. Todd, do you have any thoughts?
I was being quiet. Well, I think the writing for this was really the weakest part. There was quite a bit of world building going on, and it seemed to be biting too big of a chunk of apple, because the first part was really good, as Jason was saying, but then it kind of falls apart trying to do too many things at once. So what really, for me, the best part of all of this has to be the artwork, because it has kind of like this My Little Pony kind of vibe, but it's still, I won't say it's sweeter than that, but it's just really adorable as you watch everything else. And as much as anything, adorable is a great term for this book as you're watching all of it. And I really enjoyed the sweet little moments of, do I hold her hand, do I not? And you've got the feelings of that going on. There was a panel of that. And then you have people freaking out about missing their butt, or I've got my booty back. And it was just, there were some real moments of authenticity that came through. And so there were some good moments, but it really kind of fell apart in the third act for me. And I'm just, that was the challenge as much as anything. And with the Scooby-Doo ending, it kind of felt transplanted on, going, oh, we've got to finish this now. I was going to do another issue, but we're just doing 5. It's kind of what it felt like.
Yeah, no, I get that. It did. They sort of, actually, no, because even then in the other book, it wasn't set up to be that way. Like, they may have thought about doing it as a Scooby-Doo ending the entire way, but it still didn't quite make sense.
Sure, but...
But even as a Scooby-Doo ending, they never actually said who he was or what he was trying to accomplish. It was just weird.
That's true. So when you're saying that a Scooby-Doo episode has better writing than this, then there might be a problem as well.
and you those fuckers were high when they wrote that, so
that's probably true.
They were having good times.
I will say, for the first 3.5 issues, because it really does fall apart for me when Selena just gets angry at Julie. I really did like that Selena was immediately understanding and kind towards Julie and her insecurities, and even immediately adopted Chet's pronoun use. And she even used, this is one of my phrases that I tend to use a lot with just about everyone, especially women in my life. And she says to Julie, "You don't have anything to apologize for." Mm-hmm. And I think that's a really good thing to acknowledge, is that there are often people who feel insecure or don't feel like they have the right to exist in the space in which they do, and they feel they need to apologize for just about everything, and they don't have to.
Which sort of reminds me of a useless fact I learned the other day. In Canada, it's so common for people to say "I'm sorry" that they actually had to pass a law to say that saying "I'm sorry" is not an admission of guilt.
I love that.
Yeah, which I thought was pretty interesting. So anyway.
Yeah.
They're looking to pass that same law in Utah.
Are they really?
The way. So organizations can say they're sorry without any culpability.
Oh, so it's not for actual people; it's for corporations.
It just makes me think of
That's how America does it.
The episode of South Park with British Petroleum. I'm sorry.
I remember that episode.
Yeah, it was the Cthulhu one, because all the offshore oil drilling woke Cthulhu.
The guy who cuts my hair puts on a TV in front of me and puts on South Park or Family Guy episodes. So I get to watch cartoons while I get my haircut, which is probably why I keep going back to him. Not that he doesn't do a good haircut. Like I do, he does give me a great haircut, but half the joy is being able to sit there and watch cartoons for an hour. So while I get beautiful.
And he must love that shit, because if it's on all day, every day.
Oh, yeah,
so,
totally.
Random thing, I just saw this really funny meme online. So Robert Downey Jr. is using his fortune to try and save the world. Chris Evans is trying to fight Nazis. Mark Ruffalo is big on going green. Guys, I think Jeremy Renner is going to go kill a bunch of people.
That could be fun, though. Well, I'll talk about I'm just saying. I mean, he wasn't killing people who didn't deserve it, so maybe Jeremy Renner will go.
Yeah, he can go after Mitch McConnell.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Yes, please.
That would be kind of great. Okay, well, cool. We obviously did not love this book very much because we were sort of avoiding talking about it, which is kind of fun. Anybody else have any fun subjects?
It's not that the book itself isn't bad. I do agree with Adam that we're not the target audience. I think that if you're in your just hitting that just before tween age, that you probably would really like it. If you have kids that like comic books, that this wouldn't be a bad one for them to read. Yeah. Because it really isn't meant for people in their 30s to be reading. It's really meant for people in their teens and tweens to be reading, where it has that you get that insecurity and it's that first meeting someone and everyone's super goofy and everything. So I thought it was cute. I mean, obviously I knew that it wasn't meant for me, because okay, it's not meant for me, but I didn't think it was terrible. I did read reviews after I read it, because I was like, is it just me? And a lot of people on Goodreads made the same kind of reviews on the book, that they liked the overall premise and the art was very pretty. Everyone hated the ending.
Yeah.
So, but then at the end, Chet even makes a comment of to be continued. And I was like, I don't want to read another book.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Actually, that kind of sums up how I feel. I don't want to read any more of these books either. So,
well, that seems like a good point to go into final grades. So, for self-contained, ironically, because we're just talking about this, what is your grade, Lena?
I put B, because I think I hope that it is self-contained, because this is really the end of it, and the next volume is something totally different, because if you're going to end it the way that they did, I really hope that there isn't you had to read the next book for it to make sense. B.
Mr. Jason.
It's a B-. I mean, it is self-contained, but the ending just kind of falls flat on its face.
Adam.
So I just looked it up, and the next book does have the same characters. So Julie is doing new stuff, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to give it a B, just because the story was wrapped up as unsatisfying as it was. But it was, I don't need to read more. And honestly, I got as much of the story as was needed. And I'm guessing that the next arc will just be new adventures. So,
Mr. Todd.
I give it a B as well. for self-contained for stated reasons.
Cool, and I will probably stick with a C. It was wrapped up. It sort of led into something else, but, I don't care to read anything else. So for writing for Grace Ellis, that's right?
Yes.
Hey, I did that one off of memory. Right. I'm proud of myself. So what is your grade, Mr. Adam?
So I'm going to go with a C. Again, that's kind of going back to what Jason said, was that I actually did enjoy it for the first couple of issues, and then 2.5, 3 in is when it kind of just started going weird. The Deus Ex Machina ending that made no sense. The little storybook pages that were plastered throughout. The Scooby-Doo ending, and it didn't hit with me at all. After that first couple of issues, it's a quick read, so it wasn't like it took me that much longer to finish it. But as I said at the beginning, as Lena reinforced, we're not the target audience, and I'm sure if I was like 11 or 12 or 13, I would enjoy the writing a lot more, because I feel that's the age that this is like aimed at. So not the fault as much of the writer, it's just like we're the wrong demographic.
We make that statement, but yet we so thoroughly enjoyed like Lumberjanes, which were also
that's true.
That is true.
I think with great writing, it is great writing. You can say I'm not the target audience, but Lumberjanes is great.
Yeah, no, that's a valid point.
This is just not great.
And actually, and Todd, you do make a really good point about that, because that's good writing should be universal, and it should apply to people of all ages. But I think it also, there's a big step back you have to think about is, okay, so is this writer trying to write something that will appeal to all ages, or are they writing something, or all genders, or all races, whatever it is? Or are they writing something that's very specific, aimed at a certain age group or demographic of the population? Because there's stuff I can go see as a queer person that will instantly hit me. Like even with Lena was talking about, she didn't like the insecurity that Julie had, and I was like, no, that spoke to me, and here's why. And I think that depending what your final goal is with this piece of artwork, whether it's a movie, video game, magazine, whatever it is, that could change the outcome and who's going to enjoy it. That said, though, I do really think it's important that people try to write for as broad a range as people as possible, because there could be some 50-year-old dude in the closet who reads this book and comes out because of it. That's
sure. And there's often times where you'll see books rated for YA or age groups, but if you look on the back of the image book, it says rated E for everyone. So, with that being said, if the book itself claims this is for everybody, then it can now be judged from a 38-year-old cis white guy.
Yeah. No, I think you're right.
That works for me too. So I did like your point you made, because that wasn't something I thought of. So, especially since it's the same author as Lumberjanes. So Lumberjanes.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to give it. I'm going to give it a C as well. I feel like I know this writer can do better work, and I just didn't feel like it had the universal appeal that like the Lumberjanes has. We had that conversation for just long enough. I forgot who was voted. I know Todd has.
No, just me. I went first, so it was just you and me for.
Has Todd
for writing?
Todd, what's your grade for writing?
C minus. I mean, it started off good and it fell down pretty hard. And the fact that it fell down as far as it did actually deserves another, mark down for us. So
like a drag queen in her first time on heels.
Maybe. Dude, I saw a lot of people walking in high heels in the grass at Pride. I was impressed.
Well, them and Bryce Dallas Howard, too, from Jurassic World. So,
speaking of walking in heels, Mr. Jason,
thank you.
What is your grade for writing?
Mine is a C+. It really does start out as a very sweet, tender, budding love story, but then the machinations just sort of get in the way, and it loses a lot of its charm, unfortunately.
Ms. Elena.
Yeah, I said C+. For everything that everyone else has said. So yeah.
I've gotten everybody right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Except for Maya, who's homophobic and doesn't want to be here.
Yeah, we gotta get that little bastard back on the show. Maybe when I'm in town, we can drag him into a recording.
I just don't think he likes me. It's fine.
I don't think he's been on the show with you yet, has he?
No, he hasn't.
No.
That's the thing. I came on the show and he hasn't been on. I just don't think Maya likes me. It's fine. It's fine. I see how it is.
Maya has no room to talk because he came in when someone else left the show, but we won't talk about that. Anyway, actually, he didn't come on for a while when Jason was on the show too, wasn't it?
Really?
No, he's been here with Jason.
No, but when Jason first started doing the show, he missed a bunch of episodes then too, I think. Or was it Adam?
There might have been one or two episodes.
I don't remember.
It was Adam. It wasn't Maya.
I was in Boise.
Oh, that's right. You were in Boise. That's right.
And I had like 0.1 megabit internet service.
That's right. Oh, God.
You loved it so much.
Yeah, they wanted me to go back to Boise, but there's a story about that off air. So then I was supposed to go back in the middle of my vacation. Mm-hmm. And first of all, my bosses don't want me going back there for various reasons. And second of all, it's my fucking vacation. I worked my ass off. I deserve some time off. But I was like, shit, if I have to go, like... So I went to my boss and I was like, hey, this is what's happening. He's like, no, tell him you're not going to go. You're on PTO. Mm-hmm. You can go later. You can go in 2 months to do it again. I was like, okay. Come to find out, though, is that everyone else who was supposed to go to Boise now is going to Denver. So I was like, I kind of actually would have liked to have gone to Denver, but oh well. Maybe they'll send me to San Diego next time.
There you
go. I can come see you, Brett.
Yeah.
Got a rental car and come see you, and
that'd be cool.
Hang out. And
I just got back from San Diego. I took the train down. It was great.
Oh, nice.
And Kat will probably be out there. It's a fun little train ride.
I like that train ride.
Yeah, Kat's leaving. I actually trying to get over here tonight to have dinner, but she said she's busy, so who knows?
Okay. Anyway, okay, cool. So for art for SHAE Beagle, what is your grade, Ms. Elena?
I said like A-, B+. I thought it was cute, but it wasn't anything like groundbreaking for me.
Okay. Mr. Todd?
No, I give it a B. And the other thing I don't think we talked about, I'd enjoy, a lot of these characters were drawn not in necessarily peak physical form. And there was a lot of relatability to that as well. But all in all, I'll give the art a B.
Okay. I'm going to give the art an A-. I thought, like I said, it was cute. And Todd did mention, it was kind of nice to have characters who were, a little more like some of us, like me, like a little chubby, like a chubby little unicorn. It was sort of cute.
You are slim and sexy. I don't want to hear about it.
I've gained a little weight back. I've been bad. I'm gonna jump back on keto, and I'm back in Utah. So I ebb and flow.
You still need to come over so I can make food for you. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, it's true. Speaking of me trying to lose weight, I'm gonna come over there and you're gonna feed me. That's not gonna work out well.
No, I am very good. I am very, very good with dietary restrictions. Like we had friends over the other night, and like, hey, who has what? And like, someone was vegetarian, someone was lactose intolerant, and someone was couldn't do gluten. So I had to make 3 separate meals. So
I can't believe in this day and age they're still openly intolerant of lactose. That's just wrong.
No, Clark is.
I know you're going to get a laugh out of that, but I'm not giving it to you.
Damn it! I'm just failing left and right today.
Well, okay. he takes the lactate pills before we make anything with dairy. But we did learn that my Cajun chicken Alfredo requires 2 pills because after one pill, he was running away from the dinner table like 20 minutes in. So
wow,
I can beat lactate pills if I need to.
It's the next Iron Chef America. Beat Lactate America.
I love this. I love the fact that the main guy from Iron Chef America was the main bad guy, one of the main bad guys in John Wick 3.
Oh, really?
He was so good.
It was he's the one who is fighting him, and then they get to the Continental, and you can't do work on the Continental grounds. So they're sitting there having a drink, and he just goes, "I just gotta say, man, I'm like your biggest fan. Like I've followed you your whole career. This is awesome."
Cool. So for art, what is your grade, Mr. Jason?
It's a B. It's fun. It's very soft and cuddly and warm. It has really good expressive eyes, but I think as Lena said, it just didn't do anything spectacular for me.
Okay, Adam.
B+. Pretty much for all the reasons said before. And actually, I was showing Clark the book, and that's when he's like, "Oh, this is like Steven Universe," and that's kind of the age group that this is being aimed at. So it's bright, colorful. I liked also the fact that these are normal-looking people. So you don't always get that in comics, and especially for one that, despite it should be for everyone, it is aimed more for kids. That's a very positive thing to show them that you don't have to be this Adonis to be a good person or be a good-looking person.
For final grades, what is your grade, Mr. Jason?
I said C+.
Ms. Elena.
I said B-.
Mr. Todd.
Yeah, it's a C.
Okay. Mr. Adam.
C+.
Talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to figure out the GPA.
A Duran is neither a Duran nor a Duran.
Yeah. Discuss.
At some point, you need to create an Excel worksheet that actually does the calculations for you.
You know what? That's a good point. I should.
Are you doing this on a calculator?
Yeah.
Slide rule.
Oof.
Oh my god.
An abacus.
It's an abacus. That's the joke I was going to make. So my abacus tells me that we have a 2.26, which is just barely below a C+ average, but sits at a C average. So, okay. So we gave it a C. That seems to be pretty consistent. There's a lot of 2s on that page. Next week, I believe we are doing Taproot. Is that correct, Todd?
Sure.
And I think Todd's actually already read it.
Yeah, I read it earlier today as well. So Taproot's about a gardener and a ghost and a love that's hard to be because one's dead.
Okay.
Yeah.
You've seen the movie. You know how that works out.
There's no pottery.
There's no pottery? Well, I'm out.
Is there is Whoopi Goldberg in it, though? Because that's what I care the most about.
No Whoopi. There is no Whoopi.
Please tell me that when we do this, someone has to do the song Unchained Melodies for their song to listen to.
I guess we will now.
I guess that's...
It's a bonus song.
Now it'll be fight over who comes up with
away.
There's your problem. Cool. Who has recommendations for this week?
I got one.
Okay.
Good Omens on Amazon. Watch it.
Oh, I just got that.
It's
delightful.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was really good. Yeah.
Well, that was cool, Todd, because when you took me for my birthday to see Neil Gaiman, he talked a lot about being the showrunner on that.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, did he really?
Didn't he? Was it? I don't know. No, it was American Gods 2. Never mind. I was thinking he talked about that, but he wasn't. I don't think he's the showrunner
on American Gods.
Good Omens.
American
for
Gods,
season 2,
he is.
Yeah.
Sorry, for Good Omens, he's the showrunner. Yeah. It's 6 episodes. It's one director, and it's all done. And it was, it's a one and done deal. And it was a whole lot of fun.
Did they announce a second season?
I think Neil Gaiman said he did not want a second season.
Oh.
All I've seen from it, I saw one trailer, and then I saw listened to the Satanic Nuns chorus song. That's all I know about it so far. Well, I mean, I've read the book like a million times.
The show's thoroughly enjoyable. Everyone should go watch it.
Cool. Mr. Adam, do you have any recommendations?
Yeah, so I got to go, and when this comes out, it'll be in theaters for weeks. I got to go see Dark Phoenix this week before everyone else, and they were really crazy about the NDA as far as when we could actually talk about it. I can now. It is getting absolutely trashed on like Rotten Tomatoes and by a lot of film critics. But when I went and saw it, and most of the Utah film critics who saw it with me, with the exception of 1 or 2, actually had a fun time with it. Thought it was better than Apocalypse. Is it the best X-Men film or even like a great film? It's not at all. There's a lot of stuff to like about it. The final battle is extremely anticlimactic, but then the epilogue that follows is really good. And as someone who's like the world's biggest Dark Phoenix fan, did I get everything I wanted? No, but I don't think I could have gotten that. But I got enough to where I actually enjoyed it, and it was a hell of a lot better than Last Stand. So if you're listening to this and you haven't seen it yet because people were bitching about it, go see it for yourself, make up your own mind, because a lot of the critics I know who didn't like this went in wanting to hate it. So that tinted their viewpoint. So, and that means they're bad critics. So, and that is the hill all the time. If you go into a movie wanting to hate it, then you are a bad critic. I even walked into 50 Shades of Grey wanting to like it. So,
Ms. Lena, do you have any recommendations?
I do. I saw Rocket Man this last weekend.
Oh, I need to see that still.
It is so amazing. So, if anybody who saw Bohemian Rhapsody and were hoping for more in-depth view of Freddie and everything, you get that and more with Rocket Man. It is so good. And if you love, I mean, obviously it's just full of Elton John music. Everyone in the theater was singing during the movie, and including my lovely father who went with me to see it. And but it was absolutely amazing. And when I read up on the movie after we saw it, other than the like musical, like all the dances and everything that happened through it, those didn't happen in the middle of his life. But the timeline is a little funky, but everything, all the pieces that kind of fit within it are totally true. And Elton was so involved in the production that, and he left nothing. Where behind closed doors, he opened that up totally on everything that he did and everything he struggled with his family and coming out, and it was absolutely wonderful. So I highly, highly recommend it.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to that movie as well. I'm going to recommend an axe throwing place called Bad Axe. They have a few around the country, and even if you don't go through there, go axe throwing. It's actually really fun. Where we went, they ended up giving us a guide, a coach who basically came in and said, "Okay, I'm going to show you how to throw these axes," and they teach you how to do it. And then we played a game, and of course, we were I was throwing with our friend Christopher, who is as competitive as the rest of us. So we got very competitive about it. We're glad Jason wasn't there because Jason always beats us at games. But but we had a good time, and it was really fun. And so I recommend going axe throwing, because why not throw axes at pieces of wood? It's fun.
So do you want to hear something really funny about Utah liquor laws?
Sure.
So there's a franchise, or a couple places up here that are those axe throwing places, and they wanted to get a liquor like a beer license to do that, and the Utah Liquor Department shot them down because they were an entertainment place. It was that and a karaoke place couldn't get one because it's entertainment, not like a bar. So he went and read all the rules and saw that, if you're a pool hall, you can have a beer license. So he went and got a pool tables for all of his businesses, and then went back and said, okay, I'm a pool hall now. I want my license. And they're like, well, how many pool tables do you have? And finally the guy's like, look, he meets the requirements. There's no rule that says he has to have a certain number or change his name. So now they can have their beer license because each place has one pool table.
That's awesome. That's bizarre, but okay.
Well, welcome to Utah.
I know. Anyway.
So related to that, my recommendation is there's on Reddit, there's a subreddit called Malicious Compliance. And it is hilarious and cruel and mean and funny, and you guys should go read that because it's good.
Malicious Compliance?
Yeah. So it's a whole story of, it's just different people going in. They told me how to do exactly this, and it's like, fine, so I'll do it exactly your way, even though you're wrong. And then they tell this whole story of how the people were idiots, but he did it as he was told. It's good times. Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot of schadenfreude going on.
Well then, excellent. Well then, thanks everybody for listening, and join us next week for Taproot, and we will see you all later.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us. Please rate us on whatever service you listen on. And remember, at least we're not cinema queens.